All right, I am so excited to talk about this movie, and I'm intentionally not saying its name in the first 15 seconds so that I don't accidentally get demonetized, but hopefully we are about there, and I am able to say that I cannot wait to see Nightbitch. Yes, I know that I should be able to say Nightbitch freely, but you never know with how unpredictable YouTube can be at times. So, what is Nightbitch? Nightbitch is essentially following Amy Adams as a character known only as Mother, as she, well, goes through motherhood. It is based on a novel of the same name that came out only a few years ago, and I'll dive into that in a few minutes. Essentially, her character is kind of thrown into this suburban hell. She leaves her job as a community art director and focuses on raising her toddler child. As the story progresses, she is noticing a sort of metamorphosis that she is experiencing, and slowly she becomes to recognize that she is, well, turning into a dog. Hence the connection, of course, to the title of the film. She begins to embrace this increasingly feral side of herself that is kind of coming out, seemingly out of nowhere. And of course, there are many layers to this story. It is described by director Marielle Heller as a comedy for women and a horror for men, which I personally find pretty hilarious, and I'm interested to see how that kind of comes across on screen. Now, I don't normally do this early in a video, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, which most of you haven't, I would highly recommend doing so, because I will be covering TIFF and hopefully providing some of the first reviews in the world for films like this. I will be set up in my hotel just across from most of the venues. So if you are interested in films like Nightbitch or others like Queer, the new film from Luca Guadagnino, or Saturday Night, looking at the kind of behind the scenes of the first night of SNL, be sure to subscribe so that you can see those. All right. As I mentioned, Nightbitch is an adaptation from the 2021 novel from author Rachel Yoder. It's interesting because this is quite a quick turnaround, right? Essentially 3 years from the release of the book to actually seeing the film on screen. But believe it or not, the film rights were actually sold before the book was ever published. It was acquired by production company Annapurna Pictures, which, kind of a sidebar here, is run by Megan Ellison, the daughter of billionaire Larry Ellison. And she has done some pretty amazing work as a producer, despite what you might have to say about positions of privilege, producing films like Her and Phantom Thread. The novel itself was pretty highly acclaimed. It was named the best book of the year by both Esquire and Vulture, and it was also a finalist for the Hemingway Award. So we have a solid foundation that Nightbitch is kind of working off of. It's this unique mix of emotions that I think has the ability to allow Nightbitch to stand out against some other films that may have explored motherhood. This is unique in the kind of rage that has manifested within the character that is not a unique experience, certainly for many women, but it's unique in terms of its representation on the big screen. Marielle Heller is not a newcomer onto the scene. She has had some success both as a director, but also as an actor. And that's, in fact, how she kind of started her career. She studied theater first at UCLA and then across the pond in London. And then upon returning to the United States, was actually a part of the American Conservatory, which is quite a prestigious institution when it comes to acting in the United States. She has had a number of roles as an actor, kind of broke out in The Queen's Gambit, playing Alma Wheatley, And she's acknowledged how this has given her kind of a unique perspective and kind of allowed her maybe some advantages that not all directors have. For example, in a director's roundtable, which I'm sure most folks have seen, but if not, definitely check those out. They are absolutely brilliant. She said, and I'm slightly paraphrasing here, but she said, I started to realize what a benefit I had that I understood the language that actors speak. And even though there are a lot of things that she had to learn, she realized that she's not afraid of actors, and a lot of directors are afraid of actors. So she's able to kind of speak with actors on their level. She understands the process. She's been there herself. When it comes to the screenplay here, Heller wrote it at kind of the height of the COVID pandemic, and this sense of isolation, I'm sure, is present within the script and also on screen. She has talked quite openly about this experience as she's trying so hard to work on these passion projects while also taking care of her 2 children. And that's not to suggest that this is some tragic circumstance, but it's undeniable that it is overwhelming trying to balance these professional ambitions with being a mother. So what should we actually be expecting from this film? Yes, on the surface, the premise is a touch absurd, right? Amy Adams is slowly turning into a dog, but of course, there is nuance and there are layers here that I can't wait to kind of see unfold on screen. Obviously, clearly, it's a metaphor, it's an allegory for motherhood and for the kind of transformative nature of becoming a mother. And this is represented both in the novel and in the film as Amy Adams' character is known only by mother. It's a clear representation of this loss of identity that so many women experience when they become a mother. They lose all of these aspects of themselves as a result of this sort of societal expectation that motherhood is all one is. And this is not meant to be disparaging against motherhood. Obviously, of course, it is this beautiful thing, but there is a loss that occurs as a result. Heller has been quite open about trying to represent the novel well on screen and remain truthful. There are some lines that are taken directly from the novel and incorporated into the film. One that she has noted is this line that I think reinforces this kind of metaphorical state that Amy Adams, that the mother is experiencing. And the line is, I am stuck inside a prison of my own creation. I am angry all the time. I would like one day to direct my own artwork toward a critique of these modern-day systems that articulates all this, but my brain no longer functions as it did before the baby, and I am really dumb now. I think that encapsulates this combination of horror and comedy that Heller has been so open about. Nightbitch is exploring very real themes and very real experiences that are shared by so many women, but it remains light as we go through this exploration, right? Of course, she is not really dumb, but it's a humorous way to acknowledge the subjective feelings of the character. And look, this film walks the walk. This is one of the only instances that I can recall. I'm sure that there are others, but I can't think of any off the top of my head that we have a fully female production team. All of the core producers are women, which is pretty cool to see. So, who are the stars? I've talked about Amy Adams, and the bulk of the weight of this project is placed on her shoulders. Of course, folks know Amy Adams. She is a brilliant, brilliant actor, although she has fallen it seems a little bit in recent years. She's been in some not brilliant projects, Looking at You, Woman in the Window, but I'm pretty confident that this will kind of launch her back to that position, that regard that she was held in just a few years ago. She has talked openly about the transformation that her character experiences, and as a result, she experiences in this film. She, at times, dons dog-like prosthetics, and she gains some weight for this role, and she talked about this kind of transformative nature, saying essentially that she wasn't judging her physical appearance, she was just in the character. And that can feel liberating, but also terrifying. And so, again, it's just another example of these dueling emotions during motherhood. It is, of course, an amazing experience, but it's terrifying and it is different. In terms of co-stars, it's clear that there's no one person who has a similar weight that is placed on them from an acting perspective. This really is Amy Adams' film. Her husband, though, is played by Scoot McNairy, who, while not being nearly as well known as Amy Adams, has appeared in a number of projects, including films like 12 Years a Slave and Gone Girl, as well as television shows like True Detective and Narcos Mexico. Nightbitch is set to premiere September 7th at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I cannot wait. There will be 4 additional public showings throughout the festival. It's going to be a tough one to get in to see, but definitely, I think, going to be worth it if you can. If you are unable to make it to the Toronto International Film Festival, to TIFF, you will not have to wait too long to see it in theaters. The film was acquired from Annapurna by Searchlight for roughly $5 million. It was originally set to be released on Hulu, but they have decided to make it a theatrical release, scheduled currently for December 6th in North America. And while international dates have not been announced, it's expected to also come out elsewhere in December. Thanks so much for watching. Again, if you missed my note from earlier, please do subscribe, as I will be putting out a lot of quote-unquote content during the Toronto International Film Festival, including hopefully some of the first video reviews in the world. I'll be running around fueled by caffeine and doing my best to let you know what to watch and maybe what to avoid. Thanks so much. Cheers.